Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Ieuter Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show, here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across our great state of Michigan. And as always, so glad to have you along with us. Happy New Year to you. I hope your Christmas was wonderful. Maybe you're still celebrating your Christmas, but of course, New Year is the next thing on the horizon. Do you have any resolutions? I don't. I think New Year resolutions are meant to be broken, right? I do, though. Routinely, I have some goals for the upcoming years, and sometimes those are very specific. It might be, okay, I want to shoot a big doe this year. I want to shoot a turkey this year. I want to get a bear this year, and I want to catch more walleye than ever. those are pretty good goals, I think. And to some degree, I guess I have some of those goals this year as well. But this year, I'm not as specific as I have been in the past. It's more of a mindset, I think, this year than anything. I want to continue to obviously enjoy this outdoor lifestyle as much as I possibly can. I do want to spend more time on the Angler Quest on Saginaw Bay this summer, and take more people out and expose them to that resource that is the Saginaw Bay walleye fishery. And I do want to spend more time hunting, just in general. But beyond that, I think I want to really put my efforts this year into, again, trying to get more people involved in the outdoors and promoting this resource, this way of life that we have that is just so absolutely valuable to so many of us. We love it so much, and I think it's in jeopardy these days. And I talked about this a little bit last week. It's not just the anti-hunters, but it's the infighting in the outdoor world itself. In fact, I brought this up on last week's show, and for the most part, I got a lot of support online, but some people think I'm absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. They say, Avery, one guy said, Avery, you're senile. They should take your driver's license away. I hope the kids put you in a home soon. I guess there's got to be somebody everywhere, right? But I am really looking forward to 2026. Isn't it crazy? 2026. Man. It is officially winter now. The calendar says winter. I don't care what it looks like outside your window right now, your door. Maybe it does look like winter after this little bit of a warm spell. We lost a lot of snow in my neck of the woods. Maybe it doesn't quite feel so much like winter, but it is officially winter now. And you know what the good thing about that is? The days are going to start getting longer now. Can you close that, John? The days are going to start getting longer now. Now, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long time before it feels like spring. But we're starting to move that direction already. Mother Nature feels it. I got some pictures the other day from my friend Scott Gatza, who allows me to hunt his property occasionally. In fact, it's where I shot that doe during the muzzleloader season, in quotes. And his dog has found 2 shed antlers already. And I couldn't tell from the picture. They look pretty fresh, but I said, Scott, are those from this year? And he said, absolutely. Absolutely, they are from this year. So, that season is coming up. The search for shed whitetail antlers is it's another way to stay in touch with your local deer herd, to do some post-season scouting. Is it ever post-season for you hardcore deer hunters? Is it ever post-season, or is it season year-round? I mean, we know we can hunt deer, 4 months a year now? That's a topic for discussion, isn't it? What else is coming up here? The live streams. I had taken a little bit of a break for the last couple of weeks because I do a Wednesday morning live stream from the studio, and then I do a Wednesday night live as well. But Christmas Eve was on a Wednesday night, and New Year's Eve is on a Wednesday night. So I did not do live streams for those. But coming up here now, after the first of the year, we're going to get back into that. We will also schedule some type of an in-person Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. I don't have a date for that yet. I want to make sure it doesn't interfere with a couple of other events I have coming up. In particular, the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction that's coming up Saturday, March 7th. It's actually the latest we could have it, first Saturday in March. This year happens to be the 7th. And a lot of the people who show up for that event, and a lot of the people who are involved in that event, and a lot of people who donate prizes and such for that event also show up for Wednesday Night Live. So I don't want those two events to interfere with each other. By the way, you can get tickets for that Trinity Monitor event now online. 1.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor, I think, is the website. But I will be posting that as well on my Facebook page. Keep an eye on my Facebook page. I'm also I'm most active on Facebook. I also do some on Instagram, a little on Twitter, X, and believe it or not, every once in a while I do post something on TikTok. Now, it's not me dancing in front of a camera. I don't think the world is ready for that, and I'm not ready for that. But all outdoor related posts for sure. And then on YouTube as well. I'll go back. One of my goals for this year, now that I think about it, is to I don't want to say resurrect, but to repurpose some of my old video from when I had the TV show. I found an old hard drive the other day. I actually, and I give myself credit for this, before I left TV5 and I had access to a vast library of videotape, I captured all of those and I digitized those and I put them in a digital format so they would never degrade, like videotape, audio tape degrades. Well, hopefully this digital format will not degrade. But going back through this, I mean, I've got videos back to the mid-'80s. I've got TV shows back to the mid-'80s. You know, I've got Alaska fishing trips in here. I've got African hunting trips in here. I've got Michigan turkey hunting. I've got, Fred Bear, Morton F. I've got all these cool things. And I want to bring those to light again and show them off again, have people, have the next generation have the opportunity to see these things. So I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to put a lot of those up on YouTube. I will do probably a little in studio or in the field introduction as to what you're looking at, and then put those up on YouTube as a way of preserving them, if nothing else. It's interesting. You look at those videos. Number one, they're not a very good quality at all, and they are a 4:3 ratio. Remember the old TV screens that were 4:3? Now everything is 16:9 or something else. So you look at those and you go, man, those are from a long time ago. Well, they are from a long time ago. So that is certainly a goal for this year. Hey, congrats, Ferris State College Bulldogs. Go Dogs. My alma mater. Oh, it's not college. It's university now. When I went there, it was Ferris State College. National championship, Division II football championship, 4 out of 5 years. Talk about a dynasty. Man, that is so cool. I actually, I was recruited to play football for Ferris. Did not play, and probably just as well for Ferris that I did not. But I still have a sense of loyalty and pride in that school. And hey, Ferris football team, Coach Anish, you guys should be just so very, very proud of what you've done. Don't forget about the Pure Michigan Hunt. Let me see. As you're listening to this show, is it still open here? No, I can't take that right now. No. Never mind. You missed it. Doing some time shifting here, and you missed it. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show, Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods talks about the early ice fishing season. Then Ben Nielsen of Showspan on the upcoming Showspan shows, including the Ultimate Fishing Show in Novi. In our second hour, Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty on bobcat trapping and bobcat hunting. That's something I've never done, but I'm fascinated by it. I think it's a very cool option. And I feel like, anecdotally, I'm no biologist, but I feel like there are more bobcats now in our state, or at least the range is expanding. I think we're finding them further downstate now. Then Karl Ieuter of the Ieuter Insurance Group answers the yearly question, what happens to your insurance if you go on the ice? There is a thought among many ice anglers that the minute you drive your vehicle on the ice, you have voided your coverage. Is that the case? Then Brent Rudolph of the DNR answers this week's Ask Avery question, following up on numbers of harvest as it relates to deer processors. And in hour number 3, one of the hardest core ice anglers you will ever hear. His name is Jake Romanack of Fishing 411. And then, of course, we'll wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. I've got a bunch of old Dixie Dave recipes as well. We're going to see those too. So 2026, great year. I'm excited. Glad you're with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe, WSJM, 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ, 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Angler Quest headquarters. Whether it's open water fishing or ice fishing, Linwood Beach is in the perfect location. They have great facilities. But listen, the thing I always say about Linwood Beach, I think the best thing about Linwood Beach is the people. They have good, hardworking, conscientious people who want to do the best for their customers. And what more can you ask? The website is linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Before we get to our guest, I just want to follow up on something. I was looking at the calendar here before the break, or during the break. And yes, the show that we are recording right now, and we're doing a little time shifting, which threw me off here a little bit. You do still have time, as you are hearing the broadcast version of this radio show, you do still have time to enter the Pure Michigan Hunt. More on that later in the show, but I don't want to lead you astray with that. All right, talking about the different seasons going on right now, you know, we've had a little bit of a thaw here now. I don't know what it looks like outside your window right now, but there's no doubt that the ice fishing season for many Michigan anglers got off to a little bit of an early start, maybe back to what it should be, right? With us to talk about that and more, Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods. Travis is the manager of the fishing department of Jay's Clare store, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Travis, welcome. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad, Mike. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing real well. Listen, I know you are a hardcore angler. How did your fall, early winter develop? Did you spend some time chasing steelhead?
I have not been on the Steelhead River much. I got too sidetracked chasing deer this season and traveling out of state and whatnot. So, no, I haven't done that. But I've heard the bite's been pretty good.
Well, how did your deer season go? Where did you end up?
My bow season was pretty lackluster here at home. Went out of state to Missouri. That was a lot of fun. Had some good opportunities there, but unfortunately didn't connect. And then come back in. Rifle season here wasn't bad, but we just got done finishing putting my hunting stuff away the other day, and I'm ready to get out on some hard water and maybe chase some steelhead here soon.
So now it's time to get serious, huh?
Yep.
If you had your choice, well, you do, what would you rather do? Chase steelhead in the rivers in the wintertime or ice fish?
I really enjoy chasing steelhead, but at the same time, I don't mind a nice mess of some crappies or some walleyes if I can get my hands on them. So it's kind of a toss-up. I really have a hard time deciding most days. The weather kind of dictates that most days for me. If it's pretty nasty out, I'd rather be in an ice shack. If it's pretty nice being in a boat on the river.
And let's talk about ice fishing here. I mean, I'm not much of an ice fisherman anymore, but I am connected enough to know that the gear and the equipment that ice anglers use these days has really evolved. I mean, it's some pretty high-tech and comfortable gear to use.
It is. It's changed an awful lot. You went from hearing two-stroke augers rip off in the morning, first thing at first light when you're out on the lakes and stuff, and now it's very rare to hear one. Everybody's running electric or they're running their drill. That's one of the biggest changes I've seen. The insulation in a lot of the shacks has changed a lot. I mean, there's people that go out and camp on them. That ice camping thing's getting pretty big, where they'll stay out for extended periods of time because it's comfortable. I mean, if you keep your shack 75, 80 degrees, why leave, right? So the advent of all that, and then let alone the electronic side of it, and being able to point scopes around and look at fish in real time and stuff, there's a lot of cool stuff happening there. So.
All right, you bring up ice camping. I have to follow up on that. I guess I've heard of this before. Is this happening here in Michigan?
There's a few folks doing it in Michigan here. It's just kind of a growing concept for our folks, it seems like, at the time. We don't get a lot of folks that come in the store and ask much about it, but it's starting to grow a little bit. But places, Wisconsin, Minnesota, up in Canada, it's a really big deal, They go out and some of them stay a week at a time. It's pretty wild. They got little diesel heaters that they hook up and the whole 9 yards, They got floor kits and stuff. And, yeah, it's quite the endeavor. They got cots and whatnot.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah. They've got TVs out there with generators. They're watching the football game. They got heat in there. They got something on the stove, and they're fishing. It looks pretty cool. Is that something that's got to be the big inland lakes over in Wisconsin and Minnesota where we see that? I can't imagine somebody doing that on, say, a Saginaw Bay. Could you, Travis?
I've been seeing a couple posts within, not necessarily much the past 2 years prior, but last year a little bit. You'd hear people going out and staying on the bay because we had a little bit of ice. The 2 years prior we didn't, but there's been people talking about it, about going out and staying out because it's, the destination lakes. You're 100% right. If you get those bigger lakes that are a destination that draw people from a significant distance, when they make it there, maybe they have 2-3 days. Why get a hotel if you can just stay on the ice? Pack all your food. They're taking a machine, so hauling it isn't usually a concern. So, it's starting to grow a little bit.
And you mentioned, of course, that ice fishing in particular is dictated. It's mandated by Mother Nature. We have no control over that at all. But there at Jay's Sporting Goods, that's got to put you in an interesting situation because you have to be ready for a big ice year and a big demand. You've got to be stocked and rocked and ready to roll. And if you get a year where there's very little ice, it kind of leaves you hanging, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, you're very correct. It is very volatile, but you can't go into a season, kind of halfway prepared for it. Like you got to be ready to roll in case it's good. But if it's not, you got to get awful creative on how you're gonna get through the product that you did order. To try to make it through the season somewhat successfully so you don't have a bunch of carryover, which can be tough from season to season, but the season here is looking to be a good one.
Yeah, it looks like, we got an early start on this year from what I've seen. Your perspective too, Travis?
I've been seeing ice. I've been out on the ice once. I had between 5 and 6 inches, and that was before we got the little bit of rain the other day. It was all clear, hard ice. I didn't have no problems. The little bit of snow that was on top, it looks like has been kind of compressed and refroze, so it should be nice travel conditions on top of that ice now. And I don't think we got enough warmth and rain to really hurt it much. I've been seeing posts of guys fishing up by the Cadillac area, 6 to 7 inches before we got that rain. I've been seeing posts on Portage. I know there's guys fishing the shelf ice out on Saginaw Bay, walking out and stuff, so it won't be too much longer. If we get a little bit more cold, people will be taking some machines, but then some of them inland lakes are probably close to ready by now for light stuff.
Yeah, and you talked about the electric augers. I want to learn more about that. Is this you're not just using your electric drill that I'd use for my home projects and put an auger bit on there? Isn't there something more, something bigger?
There are bigger and better, but there are a lot of guys using their home drills with just that, just an auger bit. Some of them are a hand auger bit that they've adapted, and then some of the companies now make bit augers specifically for an 18-volt or 20-volt drill. And there's a lot of folks doing that. Some of them cut easier than others, but and then there's also the lithium sealed waterproof augers that are kind of a beefier motor, 40 volts, and those seem to be kind of taking over the auger game.
And those will cut a big diameter hole, say out on Saginaw Bay, through a couple of feet of ice if we get it. They'll handle that?
The electric augers, absolutely. Yep. Wow. So the biggest, most popular one for us recently has been the Ion Alpha. That Ion on a full charge battery, 40 volts on an 8-inch bit. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but they advertised the 8-inch bit through 1,600 inches of ice per charge. So if you had 16 inches of ice, you could drill 100 holes with so if you can't find the fish in them 100 holes, boy, you better go back to studying the map, I guess.
I'm still thinking about this 1,600 inches of ice.
Yeah, that's a lot of ice.
Yeah. And the shanties these days are really something else, too. I mean, I had a chance to spend a day in one last year. It was very comfortable. We towed it out behind sleds, popped it up real quick, but built-in seats, insulated. I mean, it was really quite comfortable in that thing.
Oh, yeah. The insulation's getting thicker and more convenient by the day, seems like. And some of them have fold-down seats where the seats will kind of fold out like a bed.
Yeah.
For if you wanted to take a nap, or for the folks that are doing the ice camping thing, they're all set up there ready to rock. There's a lot of cool little features that they have nowadays, and they're getting very, very user-friendly.
And you mentioned electronics. I mean, this forward-facing sonar, is there any piece of electronic in Jay's hotter than that unit right there?
Not necessarily. I mean, even so, if you think back past probably 2-3 years, Mike, we didn't have real strong winters here in Michigan. The past two prior before this last one. But the one thing that we did sell throughout those years were the live scope bundles. You just couldn't keep them in stock because there's a lot of folks that aren't just using them just for the ice fishing aspect. They're using them in boats that are going jigging on the Saginaw River, Detroit River, which not, and they need a portable option. So those little bagged units work really good for that. They see everybody else out with scopes, and they assume, well, I got to have one of them. I got to see where the fish are. And it helps you find them, but it can be equally as frustrating because there's days you can see them and they ain't going to bite nothing.
Well, that's a good point. It'll help you find fish, but it can't guarantee that those fish will bite.
That is correct. I think there's a lot of folks that have this perception of them that these scopes they're gonna fish all the lakes out and whatnot. And I'm sure you've heard a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you were to jump on the ice with me or get in my boat at some time and follow around and look at that scope screen, there's an awful lot of frustrating moments and days where you can see them, but you can't get them to eat anything. So I don't know how much truth there is to that.
Has the price come down on those yet? Has the price come down because they started out pretty expensive?
There's a lot of companies that make them. I mean, Garmin was obviously the first one that come up with the Panoptics and the live scope ideas and really put them into motion. Lowrance has options for that. Now Humminbird has options for that. They're both on their second rounds of them. And then Lowrance also come out with this year one called an Eagle Eye 9 that is it only has one array of beam that comes out of it as opposed to the others have 2 or 3. So you get a little bit of a limited view, but it's real-time sonar, and it sells for $1,000. The unit, the transducer, the whole get up $1,000. Versus the others are anywhere between $1,800 and $3,300 for the kit. So, yeah, I mean, it's changed quite a bit, and as they do that and they try to get more competitive, things get a little bit more creative on the affordability end for the folks that are looking to get into it, but they don't have $2-3 grand to spend on one. So that Eagle Eye has been popular because of that.
All right, Travis, hang tight. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods. He's the manager of the fishing department at Jay's Clare store. The website for Jay's is jaysportinggoods.com. It's jaysportinggoods.com. When we come back, I want to talk more with Travis about this forward-facing sonar. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but I don't think it's long. And then we'll talk maybe about some wintertime steelhead fishing. And we'll wrap up this hour with Ben Nielsen of Showspan coming up in Hour 1 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Carroll on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Tawas, excuse me, on WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. I realize you're probably just about done hunting over your food plots for this year, but it's about time to start thinking about how you want to make them better. And I think the folks at Killer Food Plots can help you out on that. Rich Krazan does a wonderful job. Check out the website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. We will be working more closely with Rich on our food plots on the lease property, and I'm going to document that process. So I'm actually quite excited about that. Now, and also from talking with Bill Hahn, the hunting department, the hunting department buyer at Jay's Sporting Goods, sorry about that. He tells me he thinks that you will be able to buy Killer Food Plots products at Jay's Sporting Goods this spring coming up. How cool is that? The website for Killer Food Plots is killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. The website for Jay's is jaysportinggoods.com. And I bring up Jay's because we're talking with Travis Bohy right now of Jay's Sporting Goods. He's the manager of the fishing department at Jay's Clare store. Travis, I appreciate you joining us this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk more about forward-facing sonar. Can I buy one unit that I can use for ice fishing, for jigging the river, and for trolling, or do I have to get multiple units?
You absolutely can use the same unit. There's a few things that we'd have to consider on kind of how you're going to mount things, how you're going to mount the deucer and whatnot. But the unit itself is very capable of being applicable in all of those situations, yes.
And you talked about this new Eagle Eye having just one. Is it one transducer or one beam, or what is it?
It's one transducer. So with the live scope deucers and the active target deucers of the other brands of their full-fledged live sonars have usually 2 to 3 different arrays of transducer angles on that deucer. So there'll be 3 little levels on it. That Eagle Eye only has 1. So what that means is you only get the 1 array's worth of beam, so your degrees of that the transducer can see is a little bit less. And with that Eagle Eye, you have a forward mode and you have a down mode, and it's a little bit restricted compared to the other ones as far as how wide that angle can see, but it's still just as fast, just as sharp, and just as reliable. The only thing it doesn't have is the perspective or landscape mode, they call it, where it kind of looks like the 360 imaging live. Mm-hmm. The full-fledged versions have that mode. The Eagle Eye does not, but not everybody uses that mode. Most folks are using it in the forward or down, so it makes it very applicable to folks that want to get into it, but they don't want to put a mortgage on their car to do it.
Sure. Well, I was thinking, I don't want to buy a unit that I'm going to, 6 months down the road go, geez, I wish I would have spent a few more bucks and got the higher end. But it sounds like a lot of anglers could get by with this less expensive unit and be completely happy with it.
And that's just it, Mike. I think a lot of them would be, especially folks that have never seen this technology, never had it. And to that point, I get a lot of folks that come in and they say, man, I'm looking at these graphs and I'm looking at these lives and I don't want to buy one. And then, next year they come out with something different.
Yeah.
And I have the conversation with them all the time. I said, if I waited and said, something new is going to come out, so I'm going to wait, I'll be waiting forever because it's going to be ever evolving. It's never going to change. But the reality of it is even if you buy it this year, next year, one of these companies comes out with something different, that technology you bought is still very viable and still light years ahead of what most folks have ever even seen in their life. So it's still viable even though there's new stuff coming down the road, but it gives them a very affordable option in an Eagle Eye to get into something that they like. And if they want to step up to a Live Scope Plus or Active Target 2, we've got means to help them get into that as well.
That's a great point, Travis. And the folks in the electronic industry are very, very good at making us think that we have to have something new and the best and the latest every year. I don't care if it's a phone, if it's a laptop or whatever, or a forward-facing sonar, but yeah, if you keep waiting, you're never going to get one.
Exactly.
Could you use it? Do the guys in the steelhead rivers, do they ever use forward-facing sonar? And the way I'm thinking is if you've got a log jam in a hole, could you look into that log jam and see if there are fish?
You 100% can. I've done it. I know quite a few folks that have done it. I find it very handy anytime you're in a river scenario or any place shallow, that perspective or landscape mode that we talked about, that's kind of like the 360 live. That mode is very handy in the river because you don't have to worry about as much debris and stuff floating down the river and trying to mistake that in the forward mode as a fish that's moving, but it's always moving the same direction. It kind of gives you reference to whether the fish are on the bottom and if they're moving forward, up, back, to, or from the boat. It kind of gives you a little bit better judge on that. And it'll blow your mind how much those steelhead in a hole will move. And you'd always think they'd sit still. They do not.
Last question before I let you go. The battery for these units, is it internal or is it a big external 12-volt battery?
You know, Mike, it can be either way you'd like. It depends on how you have it rigged, but a lot of the folks are using it, like in the steelhead scenario, it's in a shuttle, they call it, and then that shuttle has a lithium battery that's somewhere between 20 amp hour and 52 amp hour usually. 32 is probably the most common.
Gotcha.
It's a little bit higher voltage, and they claim that gives you a better picture on those lives. But some folks, like in my bass boat in the summertime, it's wired into a bigger lithium battery that stays in the boat all the time. But
perfect, Travis. Appreciate your time. Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods. He is the manager of the fishing department of Jay's. How cool of a job would that be? You'd want to go to work every day, wouldn't you? The website, jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com. Thank you, Travis Bohy. We'll take a break when we come back. Ben Nielsen of Showspan. Can you believe it? It's show season already. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Lansing, WILS, 1320 AM, and north of the bridge in the Sioux, WKNW, 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern? It's genius. And it takes less than a minute to change that pattern. If you need big sizes, I'm talking 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can help you out. If you are a saddle hunter, VersaSkins makes jackets specifically for saddle hunters. Check them out online at versaskins.com or go to amazon.com and do a search for VersaSkins brand. Just change your skin for the season you're in. And right now, the season we're in, or will be very soon, is the outdoor show season. How did this come up on us so fast? I look forward to these shows every year. Ben Nielsen, I think, probably looks forward to them. Maybe he dreads them a little bit as well. Ben is with Showspan, the company that puts all of these wonderful outdoor shows on across the Midwest, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ben, it's coming up fast now, isn't it?
It is. It comes up fast. It feels like we just did this, Mike. I mean, you know, years fly by. There's no doubt about that. But to answer your question, I am excited for the upcoming show season and very much looking forward to it.
And you keep this enthusiasm going, Ben. But I got to believe behind the scenes, it's just an absolute grind. What is it about these shows, though, that keeps you excited and up and looking forward to them?
I have a ultimate passion for the outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, backpacking, kayaking, camping. It's in my blood. And so to get a bunch of the area businesses, to get a bunch of the enthusiasts of the outdoors together under one roof, just makes me happy. There's no doubt about that. So all of the work that we do all year long to get ready for these shows, the show is the fun part. And so we're really looking forward to that.
And the first show coming up is going to be, is it still called Suburban Collection Showplace?
At this point, it is. There's been an announcement on that the name is going to change. But at this point, it is still Suburban Collection Showplace, yes. And that's
Novi.
That is in Novi, absolutely.
And that's your first show of the season coming up? We just heard the commercial spot for that. Was it the first, January? Help me out. January what?
January 8 to 11 is this year. No doubt about that. So, it's a Thursday through Sunday show. Obviously that Thursday we open up at 1 p.m., we're going to have our Daredevil lure giveaway to the first 250 people at the door, which has become just a great tradition. And I see collections like on eBay of these spoons that we do every year, and it's outstanding. I absolutely love it.
And this show is, it is a fishing show. So does that mean fishing guides, fishing boats, fishing gear? What are we going to find there?
Yeah, absolutely. If it has to do with fishing, it's there, right? So you're going to see a lot of fishing boats inside of there. Obviously that's a big part of fishing, and they take up a lot of room. So, there's it's not that there's thousands and thousands of them, but we're going to have, several hundred of them inside the Suburban Collection Show place. Anything from the smaller, kind of aluminum rowboat style fishing boat all the way up to, some big, offshore rigs and everything in between. A lot of bass boats, walleye boats, kind of everything in between. And then when we go kind of away from that, we're going to get into kind of the tackle side of things. So we've got an insane amount of tackle at the show. The beauty of this is we get a lot of exhibitors that come to this show that have some different things, right? We love our area tackle shops, but we kind of know if we go there quite often what's there, and it's great because we get what we need. But there's some different things at this show. These guys kind of travel from show to show across the country, so you can find some variation there. And then specifically at the fishing show, we also do a big ice fishing component, and we work a lot with Frank's Great Outdoors on that to bring in the Shanty Truckload Sale and, what they're calling the ice fishing extravaganza, where, all your ice fishing gear, because of the time of year, it really does kind of apply to that next season, which is right there in front of us. As far as ice fishing goes. In fact, I've been out a couple times already myself. Good for you.
I think we were just talking ice fishing with Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods about how we got a nice jump on the season. Going back to your show, one of the things I think is most interesting too is you've got some of the most well-known and most generous with their information fishing experts all in one place for 4 days, and they want to share that information with your guests.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And, we have almost all of our seminars are free. We do have some clinics that have a small charge with them, but almost everything else is free of charge when you come to the show. You can sit there, for 4 days if you wanted to, and think about the information you could get on the bass fishing and the walleye fishing, the salmon and the steelhead, all the different aspects of fishing that we do within our state. So whether it's somebody like a Kevin Van Dam or Mark Zona, on the bass side of things, Scott Dobson, who's really kind of one of the biggest names on Lake St. Clair right now, will be there as well, or we go into, the walleye side where we've got obviously the Romanacks, Lance Valentine, Mark Martin, some of the legendary Michigan fishermen are going to be at the show, no doubt about that.
You mentioned the Romanacks. Coming up in hour 3 of this week's show, a young Jake Romanack will be with us talking about ice fishing, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure we'll talk about your shows as well. Website, Ben, where do we learn more?
Yeah, everything is up at ultimatefishingshow.com. You can get the hours there. You can buy advance tickets there. Everything you need to know, the seminar schedule, all of that is posted online right now. So ultimatefishingshow.com.
Ultimatefishingshow.com. Just the start of this outdoor show season. Ben, we'll have you back on as we get closer to Outdoorama and beyond. Appreciate your time. Have a good season, Ben.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Ben Nielsen of Showspan talking about the Ultimate Fishing Show coming up. The website, ultimatefishingshow.com. That's ultimatefishingshow.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. In hour number 2, how about some bobcat hunting? How about some insurance on the ice and a follow-up to the deer season? That's coming up in hour 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Ieuter Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on 30 radio stations across our great state of Michigan. And I say this every week, the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. There, you get your local news and weather and sports, even your local commercials. Maybe there's something you want to take advantage of. And to be honest with you, just the radio shows are the backbone of Outdoor Magazine radio. It seems like common sense, right, that the radio stations are what this is all based on, and they are. But it is nice to know that if you can't listen to all 3 hours of the radio show, or if you live in the one part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, Southeast Michigan, and there are reasons for that, isn't it nice to know that there is a podcast version of the show that is available? And the podcast is exactly the same content as the radio show. It's just, you hear it somewhere else. Well, where do you hear it? You hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You hear it on my Facebook page. You hear it on just about every podcast outlet that's out there. You can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. And I don't know, it's been a couple of months now, but I was just doing a search for the heck of it. Where can you hear the Outdoor Magazine podcast? And places came up I didn't even know existed, and I don't send it to them. I don't know how they get it, but the fact that it's out there makes me happy. I'm talking about Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player, Deezer, Odyssey, the whole gamut. I do like podcasting, though. And I encourage you, if you have a story to tell, or if you have a topic you want to talk about, you listening to this podcast or radio show right now, you can make your own podcast. It's never been easier. It's never been easier to generate an audience. I remember back to my days in television. If we wanted to do something, it took a whole studio. It took a videographer. It took an audio guy. It took a technical director. It took a director. It took engineering people to get content out. These days, and I just picked up my iPhone, you can take your iPhone or your Android and you can create a podcast and you can distribute that podcast using nothing more than your phone. And if your content is good, if your subject is interesting, people will follow you. They will find you. And I say that as a way of introduction for my first guest here in the second hour. His name is Gary Morgan. Now, Gary's had a very interesting career, and I won't go into all of it, but recently he is a hunting guide, a bear hunting guide, a bobcat hunting guide through his company called Wild Game Dynasty, wildgamedynasty.com. Gary also is a podcaster. He's a content creator. But you just can't forget about the fact that he is a subject matter expert, and he's out there living these things and doing these things year-round. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Gary, welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Good. How about you? I'm sitting here listening to the introduction. I really appreciate it. You're very kind.
Well, and, I appreciate you saying this, but Gary, when I first met you, I knew you only... I don't say, in a negative sense, but you were a hunting guide. I met you as a bear hunting guide. And when you look at what you've done as far as creating content, bringing people into the fold, and now the podcast and communicating and educating people, it's pretty cool.
It's just as you described in some of your earlier, minutes ago, your comments about those that have an interest and certainly a topic that they like to get the word out. I don't want to call it the sky's the limit, but certainly the opportunity is right on their door knocking.
Well, I think the sky is
for us too. So.
Yeah, I think the sky is the limit these days. It's whatever your creativity and how hard you are willing to work, because the tools and the distribution method is there. It's in place.
Oh man, absolutely. I'm going on a side note because I know we're here to talk about bobcats, but I just turned over I shouldn't say struck an agreement with a friend that I've known for a handful of years. Him and his wife were full-time Coast Guard people, and she was assigned to a Coast Guard base in charge of public relations and press releases, etc. So obviously, she's got some, and he does too, and Ryan and Nicole Foguth, and so they're doing my podcast for me. So we've kind of teamed up, and I'm looking forward to it because, as well as anything, it's this podcast thing just takes off, but it does consume some time, and you want to do it professionally and do the right thing, consistency and all that stuff. And I found myself, once in a while just getting behind because the need is there. And so we're actually right after the first year, I've kind of launched that, and I've kind of been hesitant to really release that information, but today's a good day to do that, I guess.
This is the right time to do it. Well, congrats to you, Gary. Does this mean, though, that you're kind of starting to ease your way out? Are you looking at retirement? Am I looking at this wrong or what?
I don't think so, but I want to be able to have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
So when the day comes, because the day comes for all of us, sometimes it comes sooner than what we thought would happen, or maybe a little later, whatever. But the timing was right too. Even if I was in my right into the thick of it and everything was humming, and it was, but I found myself, trying to juggle. Am I up north with 6 or 8 clients on a bear hunt and running behind on my podcasting? So and that's coming up with bobcat season. It's just around the corner, and it's just so this gives me an option to reach out to Ryan and Nicole, and I think people are going to say, "Oh man, these guys know what they're doing," because they do, and they're both outdoor enthusiasts. They hunt, fish, and etc. She's originally from out of state. I think it's Colorado. Ryan's from Grayling, and they both joined the Coast Guard several years ago and retired out of that per se, and went on to finish their degrees at Michigan Tech, and it's just moving forward. So
excellent.
I think when bobcat season comes, I'm going to have some material for him, some people to contact.
Excellent. And we will talk about bobcats here in a second, but I got to go back to your bear season because, again, that's how I first met you. You were a bear hunting guide, and still are. The amount of time, the preparation that you put into that ahead of time is absolutely, it's very impressive. Very impressive. I mean, you don't go into this half-heartedly. You take this very seriously. How was your bear season, Gary?
Well, I appreciate that the acknowledgement, and it was a good season. It was a tough season. You kind of look at, is it something that's, that I'm experiencing in my camp? Because we were not seeing the numbers that we're used to seeing, but things were, what they were. We knew what we were doing was needed to be done. We have a plan in place. We're not going to compromise, make some adjustments, of course, but then it started coming around, and we had a great season. We had some people that passed on some bears, and maybe a couple of them should have been, maybe a couple of them shouldn't have, but that's bear season, as we know. People that are new to that have a difficult time, all of us sometimes, judging what might be a proper bear to harvest, a shooter bear, we sometimes call them, but we had a great season. We all first, second, and third hunts were absolutely packed with people. I think we're at 16 or 17, so that was quite a number for us.
So bobcat hunting, is that similar in some ways to bear hunting, or is it a completely different activity?
I think both, not to ride the fence, but I reached out to a couple of people after I had been doing it for a little while to fine-tune my methods, and there's some guys out there that, man, they do some outstanding guiding. Matt Listenfeld comes to mind. To me, he's bobcat hunting extraordinaire type thing, and but him and I did it together last year, and with some scheduling things, I'm probably going to run the camp myself. He's got one that he does anyways, but yeah, it's a predator, thus a bear. So a lot of our baits might be at that same bait, not all of them maybe, but there's a definite correlation because you're dealing with an animal, though different, but has some very common similarities, we'll say. Obviously, the predator side of things. But,
hang on, Gary.
hey.
You know how this works. Unlike podcasting, where you don't have to take breaks, in radio, we have to take breaks, and I got to take one right now. We're talking with Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty, wildgamedynasty.com. Just announced that coming up after the first of the year, his podcast is going to sound a little different. I will make sure to tune into that, wildgamedynasty.com. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, more on this Michigan wintertime sport of bobcat hunting. I've never done it, but I am fascinated by it, and Gary's a good guy to talk with right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. And north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by, you know that sound? That's the sound of my Rapid River knife locking back open. I just took it out of my pocket, which is where it lives all the time. This one happens to be the Avery signature knife. I'm a big fan of Rapid River knives. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. I was talking with company owner Chris Durson just before Christmas about some things that we want to do with this new year, 2026. I will be talking more about that here in the next couple of weeks coming up. But in the meantime, just a reminder, the website, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. The Avery signature knife, all proceeds from this knife go to Outdoor Driven, a group formed to get first responders and vets on outdoor adventures. This is something very close to my heart. I never served. I've always regretted that. I feel guilty about that. As far as getting first responders involved, my dad was a cop for 35 years. So this is a project that is very close to my heart, and I thank you, Chris Durson of Rapid River Knives, for working with me on this. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. Talking now with a guy that, he's had quite a career. Very interesting guy. His name is Gary Morgan, Wild Game Dynasty, wildgamedynasty.com. All right, Gary, so let's talk about bobcats here a little bit more.
Sure.
Are you hunting cats in the upper only or the northern lower as well?
Well, we're going to do both places, and reason being is when my wife and I kind of retired from our day jobs of old, we moved up to northern Michigan, up near in Montmorency County, kind of closer to Atlanta, I guess. But it also took us closer to the Mackinac Bridge, so we might call it God's country. But we have some real nice setup up there. The place that people stay, the lodge, and that is probably, in my opinion, top shelf. So, the opportunities up there are vast. We don't have the competition. People can have an expectation of having a solitude-based hunt, and that's the way we like it. But at the same time, where we're at in Atlanta, the cat population is pretty strong there too. I mean, we live off the beaten path a bit, and so it's nothing to see, especially a trail cam of a cat crossing the creek. There's a log down, at the foot of the creek where we live, and I mean, there'll be 2 or 3 of them that cross, and if you put a little something out for them during the season, they'll show up. So, but hey, I am quick to remind myself that there's still a cat, and cats are cats. Man's best friend might be a dog, and you tap your knee, and the dog comes up on your lap, and you say, cats will kind of do what they want to do when they want to do it, and all that kind of stuff. So they're tough. I mean, it's a tough thing because we are so accustomed to doing certain things, methodical things, and it usually reaps some results in some way, and it does with cats too. But boy, if they say so, they will. And sometimes it's way beyond what you would think they'd do, but it's what they want to do.
So I know you can hunt bobcats with dogs. I don't think you do that, but you can also hunt them. You can call them in with a call and I think a decoy. Can you also hunt them over bait, Gary?
Yes, you can. Yeah, we do a little bit of both, but we also try to really segregate people from a bait site using a call. That should probably be done at a different location, and even not just down the 2-track or not just 100 yards away. It should be a totally different area for that reason. And there's a lot of thoughts going into that, but it's obvious that it does bode well to segregate. Yeah.
And there's also earlier in the year there is a bobcat trapping season followed up by a bobcat hunting season. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's a great time to throw that into the mix of a guy setting traps, because it's kind of, that's part of what we do too. We have actually a little trapping school that we kind of run, and I call it that. I don't know. I didn't know what else to call it really, but we have guys and gals that come up trapping, and it's a kind of a show me type thing, but we keep it simple. That's the kind of person I like to be myself, and there's some people out there that I will reference because I need to reach out to people that are experts in their field of trapping. So I'll learn as much as my people that come up trapping, but with bobcat into the mix of it, it just offers another huge opportunity to throw that into there, and we've been fortunate. So beaver trapping is pretty prime to do, and you can throw in everything. Seems to like predators, etc. All animals kind of like a beaver pond. So there's an opportunity there.
It's a critter magnet and a fish magnet, right?
Oh, it is. Yep, absolutely. And that right out your window of your home.
Not anymore, thankfully. They did enough damage, and they were fun to watch for a while.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the thing of it is there's a lot of opportunities for guys that want to and gals that want to get back into stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's people that would love to have somebody come and take care of some problematic critters.
Are your bobcat hunts? I feel like cats like tight, thick, swampy, gnarly cover. Is that true?
Yeah, it is in so many ways. So it's tough because they were hunting a predator. And I kind of lumped it into, bear hunting is a predator, but they're different, obviously. But with bobcat hunting season and in northern Michigan, particularly the UP, boy, it can be brutally cold. Last year, you pre-schedule, you set up when you're going to do this so that way people that book hunts with you can ask time off, etc. So we did it, we thought, right in the midst of probably the breeding season, which is January, February, March, maybe that February time frame. And but again, they're a cat. So, but we had 44 inches of snow on the level, single digits during the day. Yeah, we had blinds with heaters in them, but it was brutal. It was tough. So somebody that might not have the proper equipment to stay warm, and maybe the snowshoes. If you didn't have snowshoes, it was tough. It was really tough. So, but it's like anything, you got to go in prepared and adapt, and there's like you said, they're in that tight spots usually where the balsams meet the cedars, and usually close to a water source. A lot of animals like water sources, and cats like that because they're after some of those animals that like the water sources.
Yeah. So are you sitting in the blind with your clients?
I don't. I set them up just similar to a bear hunt, similar to our deer hunts, in that we do all the setups and the prep work, and then the day that they arrive or the next day we take them to their hunt spots. 9 out of 10 of them, no, all of them really, know how to get to that spot the subsequent days, and we're hoping at on day 1, 2, 3, whatever, that we're helping a guy recover that bobcat. Usually it's right on the site of the bait.
Is that an all day? Is that an all day sit, or is it a morning and evening sit?
That's a great question, because if a person's up for it, I encourage them to sit all day. The bobcats are not super duper about their nose. I know but they have a great smeller, but they just don't rely so heavily on it. They're a sight animal. Everything's about vision, kind of. So a guy could sit there all day and probably not screw up his spot with changing winds a whole lot, although, you don't want to go in with a wind that's not in favor. So, but a lot of times we're relying on intel, and that's cameras. As we our cameras will tell us or help support our decision whether that person should only hunt sometimes certain spots. We'll get that Tom that he's coming in the morning and checking some baits. He might be on his rounds, and so he wants to see if there's a smell of a female in that same bait that he's probably not there to eat. He's probably there checking for scent.
Well, I tell you this every year. I'm fascinated by this. I love the concept. I love the way you set up your hunts. It reminds me of bear hunting, which I truly, dearly love. But then I forget to apply for my bobcat tag, and that's the reality, right, Gary? If you don't have a tag right now, you're not going to get one. You got to wait till next year now.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up. I just didn't know how to ask if you did get your tag or not.
No, I forgot.
You know what? We've had guys book hunts with us knowing that they need to do that, but it's something they forgot about. And so they call back and say, you wouldn't believe this. Is there any way to get it? Nope, not until next year.
Not until next year.
So it's a common mistake and error, or just an oversight, really, more than anything. But it's the deadline is kind of a goofy time, and I'm sure that's it's not just a throwing the dart at the dartboard to decide how that came about. There's probably some methodologies. But
you think they did that just to screw me up? You think they picked that time just so I wouldn't remember it?
Yeah, and the rest of us are playing with that game now that they're trying to mess with Mike Avery. So,
well, listen, as long as they let me win the pure Michigan hunt, I will forgive the DNR, because all will be good. Gary, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. The website, wildgamedynasty.com. Wildgamedynasty.com. Hey, good luck with the new, I'll call it a podcast format. I will be listening. I'm sure it'll turn out great, but am I still going to get to hear your voice too?
Yeah, there will be times.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I'm sorry. I mean, once you hear these two, the young guy and his wife, you're going to say, oh man, finally.
I don't think I'll hear that, but Gary, always a pleasure. Good luck to you this season. Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty, the website wildgamedynasty.com. Check it out. All kinds of cool things there, lots of great information, as well as a mutual friend of Gary and mine, Tom Lounsbury. Yeah, he's there a lot. wildgamedynasty.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. When you head on the ice, out on the ice, if you take a vehicle out there, does your insurance, does it still cover you? Karl Ieuter of the Ieuter Insurance Group will answer that question and more after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, that's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge. Let's go to Escanaba, WCHT, 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let them create an outdoor getaway in your backyard, as they have for me. I told you last week the guys were out there doing some dormant season pruning, get the trees at the corners of the house all nice and tight and looking great. And also, this time of year, though, realistically, most of what they're doing is snow plowing. I imagine they'll be doing that very soon again. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. They've been doing it 60 years, so you know they're doing it right. readerlandscaping.com. Want to turn our attention now to another company that I work very closely with, another family, the Ieuter family of the Ieuter Insurance Group. I use these guys for personal insurance. I use them for business insurance. I've used them for healthcare insurance. They're just great people who truly want to do the best thing, in my opinion, for their clients and customers. Karl Ieuter with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Karl, welcome back. How have you been?
Very good. How have you been?
I've been doing really good, and I love working with you guys, not just from the perspective of I think you're very customer-oriented, but you're also, a lot of the people in the company, yourself included, are folks who love the outdoors, hunters and anglers, and I appreciate that, Karl.
Well, thank you. Yes, we love to be outside when we're not selling insurance, and sometimes we're outside and still selling insurance. So,
one of the things I hear every year, and I reach out to you or somebody else from the company about this, is once you get on the ice, what does that do to your insurance? And I'll preface that with this year, it seems like we got a little bit of an earlier ice fishing season than normal. Is this something you hear as well, Karl? Do people question you about this too?
yes, they do. Being out on the ice, something can easily go wrong. So we get the question you ask me every year, and there's a lot of myths out there about coverage, but as long as you have it insured, your snowmobile, your car with full coverage, if you go through the ice, you will be covered. So
it doesn't matter if it's your truck or your snow machine, your quad, your sled, whatever. If you have the right coverage, you will indeed be covered.
Correct. Yep. So, as long as you have the full coverage, double check with your insurance agent. Every company is different, but all the ones we represent, and we represent lots and lots of them, would cover that if you're on ice.
So this is one of these urban legends then that people tend to just come up with over the years. There's nothing miraculous in your policy that once you hit the ice makes your policy void, unless you're dealing with a pretty fly-by-night company, and that's not something you want to do anyway.
Right. Yeah, there's no exclusion out there. Again, double check with your agent, but as long as you have full coverage on it, you're out there, you think the ice is safe, and something bad happens, there would be coverage to help pay for the damage, and depending on the policy, recovery.
That was my next question. Recovery of a vehicle, or if there were environmental fines to the Coast Guard because of oil leakage or whatever, how is that covered from an insurance perspective, or is it?
Yeah, every insurance company is going to be a little bit different on this, but most insurance companies are going to pay for recovery and any pollution that comes out of, like, the gas tank leaking into the water. So, it can end up being a very large claim. So you definitely want to make sure you have your proper coverage on your sleds, quads, cars, etc.
Along that line, Karl, and we've talked about this before. In fact, I'm running a commercial or a radio spot right now talking about this. We as hunters and anglers sometimes don't want to think about how much money we have tied up in our gear, our hunting and fishing gear. And, we buy it a little bit of a time incrementally, but it's going to add up. How do we make sure that, God forbid, the worst thing happens, a fire or whatever? How do we make sure that we have everything covered the way it should be, Karl?
Yeah, definitely sitting down with your insurance agent. But what you really need to do is, you probably have so many guns and rods you might forget, is to keep an inventory of what you have, and pictures are even better. So if there was like a total loss of, say, your house, you have pictures, receipts, anything like that helps in a claim. But, there is some limited coverage for things like theft. So if you don't schedule those guns, some of the items on your policy, you might not have coverage. So again, sit down with your insurance agent, but bring a list of all those rods, guns, reels, everything you have, and make sure we get that all covered for you.
Serial numbers, model numbers, and photos are best, eh?
Yeah, it just makes life so much easier now that we have the iPhone. Just video it all. So if something does go wrong, you can. It's going to make the claim go a lot smoother if you can just say, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Adjuster, here's
Here's a video of what I had.
That's a great point. Open the gun safe, put your phone in there, put it on video, pan around in there. In the summertime, to go to your boat, just walk around, videotape everything that's there. Same thing with your ice fishing stuff. Karl, you always have great advice. I appreciate you joining us this week on the show, and I appreciate the partnership between you and the Ieuter family. Keep up the good work. Ieuter.com is the website, Ieuter. It's not Ieuter. It's not Ooter. It's Ieuter, Ieuter, Ieuter.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this second hour talking with Brent Rudolph of the DNR. The question is, it's this week's Ask Avery question, how closely does the department keep an eye on the processors? Is there a discrepancy, a disparity in the numbers there? We'll find out after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Sandusky, The Thumb, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee, WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works, this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. The best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That is what Scott Hand did this week. He sent me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. The question is, does the DNR, let me start over again, does the DNR gather license numbers from deer processors and compare those numbers to the reported numbers on the state harvest reporting system? He said, I believe with the cost of processing being north of $100, many deer are getting processed at home and never get reported. Interesting question, Scott. Of course, I am not qualified to answer this, but in the Ask Avery segment, if I don't know the answer, I will reach out to someone who does. And this time around, I'm reaching out to DNR wildlife biologist Brent Rudolph. Brent works very closely with our whitetail herd and deer management here in Michigan, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Brent, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
I am wonderful. I sent you this question ahead of time so you'd have a chance to research and think about it. So the question is, do you guys gather license numbers from deer processors and compare those to the harvest numbers?
And the short answer is yes. Now, I believe this question is specifically looking at things like the verification number that folks receive when they report their deer, or, again, information on the license number of the license used to tag the deer, and then looking at individual records. The other question is, do we just look at, hey, how many deer are being processed by processors and how many deer are being reported and match those numbers up, more like comparing different ways to monitor harvest? But I think this person was asking with a kind of enforcement component to it as well, is that checking done? And yes, it is. Not every officer, not every processor, but it's certainly something that officers have in their toolbook to be monitoring.
And this would be, that's a good point. You know, I'm talking to you as a wildlife biologist, but actually getting out there and talking with the processors and opening their books, that's a law enforcement issue, right?
That's right. And, in addition to looking at deer that were turned in and have they been reported, you're required to report your harvest. And so officers could be checking that and seeing whether the individual hunters had reported their deer as harvested. Obviously, they harvested one if they dropped it off at a processor, so they should have reported it. But obviously, processors and taxidermists and other businesses like that also have regulations they have to follow and record keeping they have to comply with. So they're used to conservation officers showing up from time to time and monitoring their business, as well as taking a look at information relevant to the deer and the hunters that are part of their operation.
So maybe the big overall question is, are you, as DNR, are you comfortable, are you confident in your harvest numbers? Do you think you have an accurate look at things?
Yeah, we've been looking at the past, this is now the 4th year, not quite completed under required reporting. We're continuing to do things like compare those reports to our harvest survey estimates. And there's pretty good agreement. We know our harvest survey estimates, for example, have probably always been an overestimate because people that get a survey are more likely to reply if they're successful as a hunter. Our survey and statistics folks work very hard to correct for that, but we know that's an inherent bias. We also know for reporting, they're probably an underreport. We know not everybody reports, right? The bigger challenge becomes if there is a bigger bias or difference based on a particular area or a particular season, and especially if that changes. If for some reason a lot more people comply one year, a lot fewer people comply the next year, that creates a lot more noise to the data. Overall, we've got we have confidence that we're tracking reliable information, but we're continuing to work, including with our conservation officers, to boost compliance with that and work side by side with them to educate hunters about the need for their reports.
And before I let you go, overall numbers for the season so far this year, down a little?
Yep, we're still down a little bit compared to the same time reported last year, and a little bit different region by region as to how those numbers compare. We could do a full season post-mortem with you afterwards after everything's wrapped up.
When would that be, Brent? Because I think maybe we should do that.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to have, especially in southern Michigan, we'll have into January some hunting, still occurring. So
the never-ending deer season.
That's right. It is the season that goes on and on. Yeah.
All right, Brent. I appreciate that. Let's do that. Let's plan on getting together and talking here once things are all wrapped up. Brent Rudolph of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. And thank you, Scott Hand, for reaching out with that question. It's a very good question. And thank you, Security Credit Union, for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. We'll take a break. When we come back, our third and final hour this week, we're talking with Jake Romanack of Fishing 411. I have never met a person who loves to ice fish more than Jake Romanack, and that will be the topic of discussion. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Ieuter Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Covered the outdoors for more than 4 decades. Come on, Ken Hunter, I'm not that old. Well, wait. I was looking at this the other day. With the new year, 2026, it will actually be 45 years that I have been in broadcasting. I know I must have started when I was 10 years old, maybe 12. No, I wasn't. 45 years. Now, not all of this has been covering the outdoors. The first couple years were a little more structured. I was working for somebody else. I was working in television news. I was carrying a camera. I was learning how to be a reporter. And believe me, when I go back and look at that early stuff, it was indeed painful. Everybody has to learn their trade or their craft or their job. But, all right, say an accountant. Nothing wrong with being an accountant, but when you are learning to be an accountant, if you screw up, the people in your office know it and your client knows it. But that's pretty much it. Unless you really screw up, then the IRS knows it. But when you are learning to be a broadcaster, in the television world, everybody knows it because they see you. So that makes it a little bit more painful. But I'm going back to this 45 years, 4.5 decades. The places I've had a chance to go are just wonderful, beautiful. God has blessed me. But it's the people that I've met along the way. And I always say this, it's the people. It's the friends I've made. It's the people I've worked with. I think about the Romanack family of Fishing 411. Mark Romanack, I first met Mark. He was a naturalist at the Greenpoint Nature Center in Saginaw, and I was a young reporter at TV5, WNEM. You look at where the Romanack family has gone now, the Fishing 411 franchise, and Mark has since brought his son Jake into the picture. And Jake is he's unbelievable. I've never talked to anybody who enjoys ice fishing more than Jake Romanack. And I'll be honest, I don't get I do get the appeal, right? But I'm not addicted to or in love with or passionate about ice fishing like I am open water trolling. But that's one of the reasons why I enjoy my conversations with Jake this time of year, especially when we're talking about ice fishing, is he opens up my mind to what ice fishing is all about. And that's the thing about Jake and his dad, Mark. They are so in tune with what they are doing, and they are so willing and able and so good at sharing that information and that expertise. That's why I love talking with them both. And this time around, young Jake, he's not really young, but I'm going to call him Young Jake, joins us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. How you doing, Jake?
Mike, I'm doing good, but I got to apologize right out the gate because obviously you can hear from my voice. We're going to get through this interview, but maybe I've been doing a little too much ice fishing lately. It kind of caught up to me a little bit.
Well, temperatures what in the single digits and below zero over in Minnesota where you were? They'll do that to you, Jake.
Yeah, it was actually some of the coldest I've ever ice fished in. It got down as low as negative 36.
Ooh.
And I love ice fishing. You know that about me, Mike. But that kind of takes the fun right out of it when it gets that cold.
That is absolutely crazy. You have to be passionate and maybe a little bit crazy to go out in those temps. How in the world did you do that, Jake? Were you able to stay comfortable or was it just miserable?
We were able to stay pretty comfortable. It's pretty incredible, the stuff that's out there now for us, all of us sportsmen, to be able to be comfortable out on the ice. From all the equipment, the quality of the equipment. I mean, I'm only 30, Mike, but I can remember when I first started ice fishing, everything we owned broke when it got cold. It was just the way it was. And now the quality of the equipment that we have available to us allows us to go fish in those horribly cold temperatures and still be comfortable all day.
So what is the appeal, though? I mean, give me a summertime day on Saginaw Bay. Not real hot and muggy and buggy, but give me a nice, comfortable day on Saginaw Bay where I get out on the angler quest, I can cover some water. Why would you want to intentionally go out there, sit on the ice where you're limited in the amount of water and the amount of fish you can contact?
As I was sitting here without a voice for the last 7 days, Mike, I'm wondering what the appeal is, but I got to be honest with you. The way I look at ice fishing is a little bit completely different than what I would look at open water fishing. And I probably look at ice fishing more like I look at hunting, in the aspect of where you pick an area on a map, you sit on a spot that you think should have fish traveling through it. You kind of wait those fish out to see if there's fish in that area. And if there's not, then you move to another spot. But in the summertime, I'm more of a run and gun type fisherman. I'm either open water trolling. I never stop moving. I'm constantly looking for fish. You don't have that availability when it comes to ice fishing. So it's more like looking at a map, trying to figure out those transition areas and sitting down on the right spot. More typical to like what we would do in a hunting type situation.
How long then will you give a spot when you're ice fishing that is unproductive before you move?
Depending on where I'm fishing, and I think it really depends on if you're fishing areas with specific pieces of structure or areas that are giant flats. I tend to give a spot about 40 minutes or so. If I decide it's worth drilling the holes and set up, I like to give a spot about 40 minutes. In that time, it'll really tell me, are there fish there? Are there not fish there? And then that'll be my deciding factor, because sometimes you'll set up and you mark a lot of fish, especially if we're talking specifically walleyes. You might not want to leave that spot yet because those fish just might not be in that bite window. So waiting these fish out is more of the name of the game, and then capitalizing on when they're ready to bite, you being ready for them. Places like Saginaw Bay, they've had a lot of days where I've gone most of the day and barely caught a fish, and then caught 20 fish in an hour and a half. Just being in the right spot at the right time. I think it's that being rewarding, right? Like you're out there, you're drilling a hole, driving across the big frozen tundra, and then somehow catching a walleye out of an 8-inch hole in this massive body of water. It hurts my brain. It's so much fun just from that aspect alone.
When you first set up on a spot, how many holes will you drill, and how big is the area that you're claiming? I use that in a positive sense. How many holes are you going to drill?
So I'm kind of a big baby when it comes to ice fishing. Like, I don't love sitting out on a bucket in the cold. I'd much rather sit in a warm ice shelter. Everyone talks about ice fishing as a cold sport, but honestly, when you're in a shelter with a heater going, I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I don't have to wear gloves. I'm wearing a baseball cap. It's very comfortable inside the shelter. So when I set up my shelter, I'm going to drill 3 holes in a line. The center hole is going to be for my live scope. I run my live scope in down mode, and that's going to allow me to see both the right side and the left side of the shack. On one side of the shack, I'm going to run a dead stick, which is just simply a rod with a jig and a minnow, about a foot off bottom, put in a rod holder, and you just don't touch that. Leave that alone. And then on the other side, I'm going to have a jigging presentation. That's going to call those fish in. The aggressive fish are most likely going to hit that jigging rod, but a lot of times in the wintertime, these fish aren't super aggressive. If they come in lethargic, it's pretty hard for them to turn their nose up at a jig and a minnow just sitting there really still. So I give them a 1-2 approach, drill those 3 holes, and then between my live scope, I can see quite a bit. I can see probably 10, 15 feet out to either side to really get a good idea of what's around the area for fish.
On the dead stick, is the minnow sitting on the bottom, or is it just off the bottom?
I like to keep my minnow about a foot off bottom, and there's a couple thought processes with a dead stick. Some guys will like to use a treble hook and a split shot, and then they hook that treble hook right on the top of the minnow and let that minnow swim around. I actually go with a different approach. I hook my minnow up on a jig, very similar to the way that we would fish in the river, like the Saginaw River or the Detroit River, with the hook through the mouth and out the back. Now that's going to kill that minnow, but he can't swim around. And what you got is you got a little bit of scent, you got the right action. And my thought process being that these fish don't want to chase a lure, like they don't want to hit your jigging lure. They want something easy. A lot of times they'll hit that jig just a foot off bottom, not moving at all. And it's pretty crazy. I've seen so many times where if you hook a minnow up where it can swim, the fish will come up to it, not want to chase it, and leave. But if you give them a minnow that's not moving, a lot of times they'll hit it.
We're talking with Jake Romanack of Fishing 411, the website fishing411.net, 411.net. Jake, will you and your dad and your mom, will you be at the Ultimate Fishing Show in Novi coming up?
We will. We absolutely will. We'll have a big booth set up there, and a couple new companies, actually, that we'll have in the booth this year that are pretty exciting.
Can you tell me who you're working with?
I would love to, because it has to do with ice fishing. We actually just partnered with a brand new company called Sealcraft. They're out of Devils Lake, North Dakota, and they are a alternative, more affordable alternative airboat company. Talking safety and ice fishing, these are actually like a Zodiac-style hull, and instead of having an airplane motor like a typical airboat, they actually have an 80-horsepower EFI. It's all been geared. They've been working on this project the last 3 years, prototyping it, and they just released it at the St. Paul Ice Show.
Hang tight, Jake. I should not have asked you that question that late in the conversation. We'll come back to it. We're talking with Jake Romanack of Fishing 411, fishing411.net, fishing411.net. I'm interested to find out who this other new company is coming up after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Truck Trolley. Do you have a truck trolley yet? Do you have a truck? If you have a truck, you should have a truck trolley. When I got a truck trolley in my Garber Silverado, it made life so much easier. I was able to throw away my old man hook. And my old man hook was a broom handle that I had with a hook on the end of it. So I'd drop the tailgate, stuff would slide to the front of the truck bed, right? I'd have to either climb up in there or reach all the way over that tailgate, take my old man hook, grab it, and pull it back so I could reach it. Well, not anymore. Put a truck trolley in there and you just slide the truck trolley out and everything that's in it makes your entire truck bed easily accessible. It's not permanently mounted. You're not screwing anything into the truck bed. You're just putting it in with straps. You can take it out if you need it, like if you want to haul gravel or rocks or something or sand and you need the entire truck bed, you just take it out. I really like it. Trucktrolley.com, trucktrolley.com, Michigan-based, family-owned. You know I love that. Right now, talking with Jake Romanack of Fishing411, fishing411.net. Jake, I so rudely interrupted you. You were telling us who this other new company is you're working with.
No, it's all good, Mike. Like I said, the first one is Sealcraft, and they make these airboats that we'll have one on display at the show. Again, everything in the Fishing 411 booth is not for sale. It's a place for people to come and just check out cool products. We'll have our boat set up there, completely rigged with the way that we film. We'll have this new airboat. And then we also teamed up with a new company, not a new company. They've been established for quite some time, but a Michigan company, VMAX Tank, lithium and AGM batteries. So we'll have some of those in the booth as well on display. Of course, all the companies that we've represented for all these years will have a place in the booth. It's a good place to come, talk fishing. Like I said, nothing's for sale. Just come and take a look. If you have questions, it's kind of what the Fishing 411 booth's all about. It's a place to come and ask your questions.
The TV show has been around for a long time now, hasn't it?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, not 45 years, Mike. But,
well, nothing is. Nothing is.
We're actually going to broadcast here in a couple weeks on season 20 of Fishing 411 TV. So I think you just texted me a video just yesterday of an old clip. I must have been 9 years old back then. So we've come a long ways over the last 20 years here. Yeah,
I was just looking for some old video from myself. I got a couple different projects going on. And I found that, and it made me realize, Jake, that you have been in the boat, even though you weren't officially a part of the business, when you were a kid, but you've been in the boat and fishing with your dad and uncles probably as long as you can remember.
I've been very blessed as far as that goes. Absolutely. I didn't get to choose who my dad was or who my family was in general, but I'm sure glad that I fell where I fell. Got to spend a lot of time in the boat with a lot of people that have done very well in the fishing industry.
I want to go back to fishing gear. You brought up the forward-facing sonar. I haven't pulled the trigger. I haven't bought one yet. I've seen them in action, but this is something every time now I talk with somebody on the Outdoor Magazine radio show here about fishing or doing the Offshore Tackle or the Angler Quest podcast, forward-facing sonar comes up. I mean, I'm starting to feel like, Jake, like I need this to be successful these days. I mean, what is the role of forward-facing sonar on the water or on the ice today?
I think it depends on what you as a fisherman are doing. If you're doing a lot of open water trolling, I don't see where a live sonar is a huge helpful tool for us as fishermen. But if you do much rod and hand fishing, casting, jigging, rigging, ice fishing, it really has changed the way that we fish. A lot of the reasons because we can see more than we ever could before. And it's like everything else. When we used to have really bad mapping, all of a sudden we got really good mapping and we could see all these different contours and breaks and drops. That changed the way a lot of people fished. And then when we started having sonar where we can mark fish at 25, 30 miles an hour looking for suspended fish out on Saginaw Bay, that changed the way we fished. We started cruising around fast looking for these suspended schools of fish. live sonar falls in the same category. It allows us to see more than we've ever seen before. Allows us to see how these fish react in ways that we kind of always just pictured the way they reacted. And honestly, I've learned so much from live sonar the last 6-7 years. I would never tell anyone not to purchase live. It really has made me a better fisherman, understanding what these fish are actually doing down there.
One of the things I do hear about it, though, it can be extremely frustrating because it can help you find fish and see how they're behaving, but it can't make those fish bite.
100%. And I hear a lot of controversy with live sonar. But the truth of the matter is, like you just said, you cannot make those fish bite sometimes. And there might not be anything more frustrating than marking 50, 60, 70, 100 fish a day and still only catching a couple of fish. You know, you might be able to see more, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily catching more.
Jake, earlier you were talking about your setup for walleye fishing through the ice. What else do you target through the ice? If you fish for it in open water in the summer, do you somehow find it in the wintertime through the ice as well?
Yeah, everything about, I would say the only thing that I don't really target through the ice like I do in open water would be salmon. I still do a lot of lake trout fishing through the ice. I catch a lot of crappies and panfish, and we do a lot of walleye and perch fishing. The majority of everything that we would target in open water, aside from like salmon and steelhead, I target through the ice.
But I do see people. I saw something the other day. They were in a harbor. It was a Great Lakes harbor, and they were actually catching trout and salmon through the ice in the harbor, which looked pretty cool too.
There is. In fact, it's on my bucket list, Mike, of things to do. There's Milwaukee Harbor has always been one of those good harbors on the Wisconsin side. Sheboygan, a little bit further north in Wisconsin, is another place that they do that a lot. So there are definitely cool places like that. So one of the things I love about what I do for a living is I love being able to go to all these cool fisheries. I just spent a week up at Lake of the Woods, going out to Devil's Lake this next week. Like, I just try to travel and see as many of these cool fisheries as possible. And Wisconsin has a really cool opportunity with those harbors and catching brown trout and steelhead and salmon right in the harbor.
The video you shot last week at Lake of the Woods, when will we see that either on air or online?
Well, very quick, actually. So we needed one more show for the season. Typically, we film everything a year in advance. But this will actually air on week 4 of our broadcast. So the end of January, this show will already air. So I shot it this last week, and it'll be a quick turnaround for this
Wow.
one. We needed one more show. I wanted to get it in the wintertime for broadcast. So we bumped it up in the lineup, and this one will be a quick turnaround.
Who puts those together? Do you do that? Does Gabe Van Wormer do it? What's the behind-the-scenes process there?
You know, I'd like to say that I try to help Gabe Van Wormer do it, but the truth of the matter is Gabe is incredible at what he does, and he produces and edits and shoots all of our shows for Fishing 4-on-1 Television. He's worked for us for a lot of years. Just a great dude. It's really hard to find not just a cameraman, but somebody that's a passionate outdoorsman that totally gets what we do, the ins and outs. And the truth of the matter is when Gabe's not filming, he's either in a tree hunting or he's fishing himself. He loves the outdoors as much as we do, so he's done a great job for us over the years.
Yeah, he's one of the best, that's for sure. But you and your dad, Jake Romanack, that I'm talking with now, and your dad, Mark Romanack, you guys have become icons in the fishing world, especially here in Michigan. Do you feel that, Jake? I mean, when you guys show up at a boat launch, people go, oh, there's Jake, there's Mark. I mean, people notice you. They know who you are. Are you aware of that?
You know, I don't think so, Mike. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not a superstar. We're not athletes. We fish for a living, and luckily God blessed us with the ability to be able to teach people how to fish. I love what we do. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would hate to have to go get a quote-unquote real job someday. So just very blessed to do what we do. And I love the fact that 20 years of TV, people still want to watch. And I hope that they want to watch for another 20 years because I absolutely love doing this.
Well, you better your dad hopes so, because he'll flat out say you are his retirement.
Yeah, he tells me often. Yep.
So what else are we going to see in this 2020 or the 2026 season coming up? we know you're going to be ice fishing in Minnesota. What else is coming up this season, Jake?
Well, the first show of the season, I don't want to give too much away, but the first show of the season is one I'm super excited for because we were in Niagara Falls, New York. We're actually in Lewiston, New York, at the mouth of the Niagara River, out on what they call the Niagara Bar. Now, we shot a lot of shows in that area before, but what makes this one super special is we got on a brown trout bite that is undescribable. We caught so many browns between 8 and 17 pounds. Shallow water, one after another. It might be one of the coolest shows in 20 years that we've ever shot, just for the size of these browns, the quality, the fact you couldn't keep a line in the water.
Wow.
I just actually watched the show a couple weeks ago to preview it, and I'm very excited for that one to be the first show of the year.
And where do people see the TV show?
The show still airs, excuse me. Sorry, guys. The show still airs nationally on the Sportsman's Channel, the World Fishing Network. Once it airs on the national Sportsman's Channel, World Fishing Network, it goes on My Outdoor TV. It goes on YouTube, a whole host of different streaming. The goal is to just put it out as many places as possible. So if you can't find it anywhere else, good old-fashioned YouTube, we put it up the following week that it airs nationally. So it's 1 week behind TV, but we'll have every show up on YouTube that you can click and watch for free.
For free. Okay, that was my point. You know, the some of these channels are a paid tier or whatever. Your content will eventually, and shortly after it premieres, it is available free of charge to anybody who wants to see it.
Yeah, and the other new one for us is called Game and Fish TV, which is a network that they're calling a smart network. Basically, if you have a Samsung TV that's hooked up to internet, you have Game and Fish TV for free. There's a whole bunch of different hunting and fishing shows on there. So if you go on to your free online channel that's on Samsung, you'll find Game and Fish TV, and you can watch a whole bunch of different hunting and fishing shows for free, kind of set on a block just like national TV is. It doesn't cost anything if you have a Samsung TV.
Excellent. Jake Romanack of Fishing 411. Always enjoy our conversations. Go drink some hot tea, maybe a little honey. Coat that throat so you can get healthy, so you can head back out there again.
Mike, I've been doing that the whole time we've been talking here. Hopefully it comes back. Merry Christmas, my friend.
All right. Same to you. Of course, by the time folks hear this show, it'll be after Christmas. But you know what? You can say Merry Christmas after Christmas. I'm going to say Happy New Year. More coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. Let's jump over to the other side of the state. Saginaw, WSGW, AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSGW right now. Right now, I'm here with Jonathan Dent, young Jonathan Dent, as I call him. Charlie Rude did jump in here, and he let John go do some other work. Which when I see these guys jumping around like this, it's like, I don't know what's going on. But even more importantly, the crowds don't know what to think because they do show up for Charlie because Charlie's been doing this forever. And they go, Charlie. I keep telling John, it's just a matter of time. Now, it's not going to happen. We're not talking next week or even next month. But John has a very, very good broadcasting career ahead of him. It will come, John. You just need to be patient. John has gained much respect here in the studios of WSGW and beyond. He's a very, very smart guy, and I rely on him on a regular basis, and I rely on Charlie. It would be technically possible to do this show from my home studio, but it wouldn't be the quality that it is. It would be a lot more work for me, and I'm glad to be able to come into SGW here, WSGW, and work with these two guys. So, John, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. So, New Year's coming up, 2026. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how the time flies like it does. I do not have any New Year resolutions this year. I do have some goals. I do have some projects. I was mentioning earlier in the show, one of my projects for this year is to look into the archives, because 2026 is my 45th year in broadcasting. And I don't want to say smart enough, but I was forward thinking enough that before I left, say, TV5, WNEM in Saginaw, while I still had access to all the video library, I digitized a lot of this stuff and I captured it all. And I was going through yesterday some of these old archives that I have, and they go back to the mid 80s. And I've got a lot of shows. I mean, a lot of these shows were captured and digitized. And what I want to do is maybe give some of these old shows another look at life. But obviously, I'm not going to broadcast them now. I'll put them online, YouTube and some of the other social media outlets. I don't know if I will be running entire shows or if I will take excerpts or segments or hunts or fishing trips from those shows and put those out there. But I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's from a professional perspective, that is certainly a goal of mine this year. From personally, I want to spend more time on the water. I want to spend more time on the woods. I want to do what I can to encourage and promote this outdoor lifestyle in whatever way that I can. So I will continue to work that direction. The live streams are coming back here. I took the last couple of weeks off from my Behind the Mic segments and my Wednesday night live segments because Wednesdays fell on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and I just didn't think that was the best use of my time and didn't think there would be much of an audience. But coming up here after the first, we will kick those back into gear. So every Wednesday morning at 8:45, I'll do a Behind the Mic segment here from the Outdoor Magazine studio. And every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we will do a Wednesday night live. For the foreseeable future, all of those will be from my home office, home studio. We will do another Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. We do not have a date for that coming up. I'll be talking with Emil Rousseau of the Lumberjack, and we'll come up with a date for that. Congrats again, Fair State College, Bulldogs football team. Go Dogs University. I keep calling it Fair State College because when I was there, it was FSC, Fair State College. It's now Fair State University. The Bulldogs, D-A-W-G-S, Dogs, 4th National Division II championship out of 5 years. If that's not a dynasty, I don't know what is. So congrats to the players. Congrats to Coach Anise. And it's just, I don't know. When I was there, we didn't have a very good football team. Maybe that's why they recruited me. Maybe that's why they even allowed the opportunity to think about having me on the team, is at the time they weren't very good. Well, these days, they're really, really good. So congrats. Pure Michigan Hunt. You still have time to apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt, but don't drag your feet. That deadline ends at the stroke of midnight on, did we call it January 1st or December 31st? $5 per application. 3 winners will be chosen. I am actually one of them. I don't know this. I haven't seen anything in writing. The DNR did not reach out to me and say, Avery, you are one of the Pure Michigan Hunt winners, because they haven't drawn it yet. But I am. I am one of the winners for this year. I can feel it. It's in my bones. I know that I am going to win this year. But still, 3 people will win. So there are 2 more. There are 2 others of you who can win. But you can't win if you don't apply. Pure Michigan Hunt, $5 gets you an application, and hopefully you can join me in the winner's circle. As it is, such as it is. All right, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this entire show with Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Minar. I don't know what recipe he has for us. I did send him a list of all the different recipes that I have video for, so maybe it'll be one of those. Maybe I can put it up on social media. Dixie Dave coming up. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. The show obviously is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. There's also a podcast version of it. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. If you've been with us at all, you know I love to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire and good friend of mine, Dixie Dave Minar. Dave is with us once again. David, Happy New Year to you, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, same to you. Happy New Year.
I was going through some old video, Dave, and I found, I think, 38 different Dixie Dave recipes that I have video for. What a find that was. I mean, I knew they were out there, but now to find them all and make a list of them, and from now on, when you come up with a recipe, if I have video of it, we're going to share it on the show next week. So I think that's pretty cool.
Okay, great. That sounds super.
So, just taking a chance, I know you didn't really look at the list yet. What do you have this week? Maybe I have video of it.
About deer camp venison stew.
Ooh. Deer camp venison stew. I think I have that. Go ahead and give me the recipe, and I'm going to work. Yes, right there it is, venison stew. So we will have that on the social media outlets for this weekend. But if I remember right, Dave, this is one of them that goes way, way back, doesn't it?
Oh, yep. We did this for, a TV show a long time ago.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, this serves 10 people or 5 hungry hunters. So you need 5 pounds of trimmed venison, cubed pieces, 2 pounds of potatoes, cubed, stored in water, 2 pounds of onions, cubed, 2 pounds of carrots, cubed, a large head of celery, cubed, about a gallon of water, and you can use better than bouillon to enhance the flavor with beef. 1 to 2 cups of red wine, a tablespoon or so of diced garlic, fine, salt and pepper to taste, and roux. Roux is you take oil or butter and melt it down and mix flour with it, and that's your thickening agent, or you could use cornstarch. So in a hot, heavy fry pan, add a small amount of olive oil and brown the venison on all sides, then place it in the roasting pan and do this in batches. Most people don't have a pan big enough to hold that amount. So after you do that, you want to saute the vegetables, except for the potatoes, in the same fry pan used for the meat. Do this in batches. Add the garlic for the last batch. And after each batch is finished, remove the fry pan and add to the meat mixture. Pour 1 cup of red wine into the fry pan, stir to loosen all the pan trimmings, and add this liquid to the meat and vegetable mixture. Add hot stock, remaining wine in the fry pan, stir and bring to a boil. Add half the roux mixture. You want it thin, about as thick as the roux, that is about as thick as maple syrup. Add more roux to and obtain the desired thickness. Pour the mixture over the meat and vegetables and bake uncovered, 350 degrees for 3 hours or until tender. You know, you can probably start checking it depending on what cuts of meat and how old the animal is. You can probably check it after about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Add the potatoes to the stew 40 minutes before it's done, and serve over noodles, rice, or biscuits. Man, this is a great way to come in from deer hunting and have this ready for you.
Sounds outstanding. Here's some of the other ones I have, Dave. Nutty walleye with bananas, grilled blackened salmon, venison and black bean chili, venison stew, we just did, rainbow trout, venison stuffed cabbage, pheasant royale, walleye almondine, pan-fried walleye with blueberries, lake trout italiano, venison tips bourguignon, possum and sweet potato casserole, frog legs, wild turkey with fruit, Madagascar shark, venison steak pizzaiola, rabbit with sauerkraut and apples, barbecued ribs. Oh, I'm going to keep going. Pheasant parmesan, Crantasia venison steak, coconutty walleye, rabbit with cherries, whitefish primavera, goose with apricot, venison rouladen, venison meatloaf, venison puttanesca, tequila peppered halibut, stuffed duck breast with oysters, pheasant breast and broccoli, wild game, wild turkey with morels, turkey tetrazzini, breaded wild turkey breast, blueberry venison steak, venison kebabs, turkey à poivre, and simmered rabbit.
Wow, you got quite an array.
What I don't have, and I'm not sure why, is I don't have some of the more recent ones, but keep those in mind. Take a look at that list when you get a chance, and I think we can have some fun with this.
I think so. This is going to be great, Mike. Thanks so much. Nobody's ever done anything like this.
Well, this and the fact that you are seriously considering coming up with another reprint of the cookbook, I think you got things rocking in 2026.
I hope so. Hope things work out for us.
Oh, they will. And you'll be at King's Dish in Standish along the way. All right, David, have a good week, buddy. We'll talk next time.
All righty, thanks.
Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. I'm excited for 2026. I am excited about what we can do here with the show. I'm excited what we can do with our partners like Dave. And I hope you feel that same excitement. I mean, listen, if you let it, there's a lot of negativity in the world. If you let it get you down, it will. So don't let it. I'm not saying kumbaya. I'm not saying anything like that. Just, you got to be realistic. But there are good things going on. And let's take advantage of it in 2026. My name is Mike Avery. I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.